Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest today. We have from Newport, Rhode Island, and she made it here safely in time. What was it, Carol? Was it a construction backup? On Route 24?
Yes.
In what town?
Right before Taunton, the exit.
So don't go there. Carol Fitzsimonds, and she is a graphic artist, and she does drawing, printmaking, and she makes books. Welcome, Carol. How long have you been doing this?
I've been printmaking about 40 years, and I've been making books about 20.
What got you interested in it?
I saw a Boston printmaker show right after my son was born. I'm going to date myself, back in '78, and I just loved it. And so I read a bunch of books, and because I was a painter.
You were a painter?
I was a painter. I got a degree in painting, and then I just started taking classes whenever I could.
On making books?
Well, that was the printmaking, and then the making books, I'm pretty much self-taught.
Wow.
I've only taken 2 or 3 workshops, a day here, a day there, and it's a lot like printmaking. It's problem solving.
Did you always do this, or did you do something else before you got into this?
Once I started printmaking, I basically...
That was it.
Yeah, what it is the books complement the printmaking and the drawing, because it takes your work off the wall and it makes it into a bigger structural whole.
Yeah.
And so...
What college did you go to?
I went to a small girls' school in Virginia. It's now a university. It's Hollins University in Roanoke.
Are you from Virginia?
I am Virginia, yeah.
And so when did you come up here?
My husband was active duty military.
Okay.
So I've moved 16 times in 27 years.
Yeah, you're like me. I've lived in so many different places, but now your children, they had to adjust to every move too.
Well, I only have one.
Yeah,
I was a coward. Yeah. I knew I could handle one. It was harder on my son than on me. I tend to love everywhere we moved, but our last tour up here in New England, in Newport, and we loved it so much, and they offered him a job at the War College. So basically he's worked all his life for the Navy. He retired one day and he went back to work the next day for the Navy, and now he's a professor at the War College.
In Newport?
In Newport.
It's called the War College?
Yeah, the Newport Naval War College.
I hadn't heard of that. So he's actually retired, but he's working.
Yeah, he retired in 2001, so he's been teaching ever since.
Show us, she just showed me, show us to start with what you did with making this book.
Okay, now this is a 4-plate print. This is a solar print, which you use a polymer gel and water. It's a lot safer than the old way we used to make prints. And it's full of my drawings of Providence.
You did that with colored pencil?
These are colored pencil drawings that I made for the book.
Yeah.
And so this is what's called a accordion concertina book, because it's hooked in the back. And so you can display it by opening it up and pulling the pages out.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
What a book that is.
So, yeah, it has a lot of different ways you can display it. So that's one of my favorite ways to do it, because it gives the pages some support.
Is it time consuming, Carol?
It took me a year to do enough drawings to make the book.
This is intricate, beautiful, colored pencil drawings.
And
that
then,
takes a while. And are they, there's like a patina over them. How did you do that?
I sprayed them.
With gloss?
Yeah, with a varnish, acrylic varnish. So, so they wouldn't rub against each other as the pages open and close.
Oh, I love
and
it.
then three years ago, I learned to make clamshell boxes. And so this is one of the boxes I made.
Yeah?
I absolutely love it. I'm hooked.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. And you made it. How do you get the material, the solid material, to make a book?
These are it's book board. and you buy it. It's gray board or book board. There are several places you can order it from. It's basically a super stiff cardboard that's neutral pH acid, so it's archival. And
the way it looks, and it's like that shiny, like that she glossed it up with, it looks like something very expensive that you'd buy brand new in a store.
Oh,
and to think, how long did it take you to put this together?
The book took me about 2 weeks to build the book.
2 weeks. It looks like it would take 2 years. It's so intricate. Do you go and do you display any of your colored pencil art anywhere?
I do. I show at a gallery on the Cape, the Cove Gallery, and then I show in Newport at Arnold Art. And then I teach at the Providence Art Club, and I'm a member. And so we're having a members show coming up. It opens Sunday.
Now, do you ever get to do anything with RISD, Rhode Island School of Design?
A lot of times I'll take my print students over there, and we'll get to see unframed prints in the print room. And of course, the art club is basically across the street from the RISD Museum.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's an amazing place. What I love about it is 4 of the founders were women back in 1880, and we had a black artist that founded it too. And most other art clubs, I don't think there was another art club that had women members for 75 years. So we were ahead of the times.
I've lived in Providence. Why had I not heard of you?
Oh, you need to come by. It's 4 beautiful colonial buildings, 11 Thomas Street. In fact, they're the most photographed street in the buildings in Providence.
It's been years since I've been there, but I remember. Do they have cobblestone sidewalks?
Yeah,
still?
they do, and it goes up a hill.
Yeah.
And there's a big white church on the other side. It's the oldest Baptist church.
Yeah.
And then right behind that is the RISD Museum.
Boy, you learn something. What is that on the cover?
This is little knots. I do a lot of collaboration with other artists projects, and this show was titled The Ties That Bind.
Obviously, yeah.
And I thought you would like this, your viewers would, because I made the plate for this, for all these prints, and we can open it all the way.
See if you can hold it up.
Out of Jell-O.
Jell-O?
So basically, I colored on Jell-O, and these are the prints that I made from working with the Jell-O, just inking up the Jell-O and putting found things on it.
Who would think to work with Jell-O for art?
Oh, it's wonderful. You make it, use the clear Jell-O, and you make it super thick. You use like 3 packages of the Jell-O,
Yeah.
and the plate, you make it about this thick, and you use a pan. So I guess my plate was about this size, and it's good for like 2 days.
Do you have to freeze the Jell-O like we eat, or just the consistency? You keep
It's the Jell-O like we eat, only it's the plain stuff. There's no, flavor in it. And so it's good, like I said, for 2 days.
The ties that bind, and then on the cover, these tiny little, what do you call them?
Knots. They're made out of wire. So.
I don't know. I probably can't zero it. That pen is going to drive me nuts. Right on the cover, I don't know, these tiny little wire knots, the ties that bind. Mm-hmm. So this was one of your associates who
Well, I was having a show with 2 other artists at the art club, and our friendship, we titled the show The Ties That Bind. So everything that I did for that show related to friendship or family, and these are all the words that when I think of the ties that bind, blood and family and religion and country and honor and, all those kind of things.
How do you get the word out, Carol, about what you do? How do you get the word out?
Well, I have a website.
Can you tell us all about it?
Okay, it's www.CSFITZSIMONDS.com.
That's a long one.
I know, and I love the way my husband's name's signed.
Yeah.
I do that.
Could somebody reach you by phone if they were really?
Yeah, all that information is on my website. Like I said, I teach at the art club. Yeah. I show with the Boston printmakers. I'm in a show right now at Syracuse University. I show with the Society of American Graphic Artists. I show with the Art League of Rhode Island. I'm one of the founding members. I show with, I think, 2 or 3 other national groups.
So you're willing to travel a long way. Syracuse from New York is a...
Well, I ship. I ship the work. And
okay.
that particular show is gonna, my work is gonna be part of Syracuse collection now. And then they're taking the show, it was a juried show, so the works were selected by, I'm not even sure who it was, a curator or something, and then it's going to travel for a year or two to museums and galleries and universities across the country.
So you have to be really trusting to make sure your artwork gets there perfectly to all these different places.
Well,
right?
I just showed my first color pencil place book. The title is Beauty in Place, because 3 years ago I was asked by the curator of a biennial, an invitational paper, works on paper in Schios, Italy.
Schios, Italy?
Yes.
Okay.
And so they gave us 3 years' notice, and the theme of the show was place or home. And so I was one of 12 artists asked to make a book.
Did you go there or did you ship your things?
I shipped my work. I couldn't go. I had to have a hip replacement.
Oh,
and so
okay, that's a good one. Okay, yeah.
I waited for 6 months till I finished the book, and then I had my hip replacement. So how did that go for you? So many people, it's like going to drive-in tellers now. How'd you do? I did great, but it did take me about 7 months.
Months?
Well, I mean, I was still moving everything, but I had to be careful.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's still things that I'm not supposed to do, like you can't cross your legs.
Or heavy
again.
lifting, probably, right?
Yeah, I have to be careful on that, and things like that. And then we 2 months ago, we were rear-ended on 195, and we were fine, but I just had to have my hip rechecked just to make sure, because it totaled our car.
I'm glad you haven't had too much. Poor thing got in construction of Route 24 out in, was it Taunton today?
Yeah.
How did you came across from Newport to Taunton, Mass?
Well, I came up 24 because they thought that was the fastest, and when I checked it this morning, I guess they hadn't started working yet because it didn't show any backup.
Yeah.
And in fact, even getting off the island, because I live on an island, the Sakonnet Bridge, which is a brand new bridge, but they had one of the lanes closed, so I sat for 20 minutes on the Sakonnet Bridge. So it was one of those, I mean, I know that up in New England they have to, when they can, make hay with fixing the roads. But it is, I don't think anywhere you go in Rhode Island now, you don't hit traffic. So.
We're speaking with Carol Fitzsimonds.
Yes.
And she is a graphic artist. She does drawing, printmaking, and book arts. Carol, do you ever get up to Worcester to do anything up here to show them? Because we've got Arts Worcester up here. We've got all kinds of, and the Art Museum.
I haven't. I have shown at the Attleboro Museum a couple of times, and I juried a show for them.
Yeah.
It's a question of you only have so much time, and I do teach 1 day a week at the art club, and like this summer I gave a workshop, and I love doing figures, so I'm taking
figures.
Yes.
Drawing.
Yeah.
You mean people posed?
Yes.
With or without clothes?
Without.
I don't think I could handle it. I think I might start giggling. I do.
When I met my husband, that was all I did in college. 4 days a week, I drew figures.
What did he think of it?
Oh, he thought it was great. He went to the Naval Academy, and back then they would lock them up. I had to drive the whole 4 years we dated. Until he got to be a senior, after I guess Thanksgiving, he wasn't allowed to drive a car, and he within I think 15 miles of Annapolis, and so I had to chauffeur us around and everything. But he thought it was great.
Cheryl, show us some of the other things that you've done.
Okay.
Is that Newport Bridge still as scary as it used to?
They have the new one, but it's under construction again.
Oh, God.
Which is always a problem.
Yes, that is a news.
Yes. So, so I go 1 day a week, and I love it because it has community. So here are two of my drawings that I turned into.
See, there you go.
I turned them into aquatint etchings solar plate, which is fairly new 21st century technology, and instead of using nitric acid and tar and all these really toxic things that we used to use, you use sunlight, and you can draw on ground glass, and all kinds of stuff. Let me take these off and just sit them in my lap. That's easier. And so that's what I teach, and from the minute you have your idea, either a film or a drawing on glass or a drawing on clear vellum, it's 20 minutes from the time you put your image on the gel plate to the time you harden it and you can start printing. Whereas before, like this is one of my older prints. This was traditional aquatint.
Is that like...
This is
a chair from way back when. Right?
This is from Fort Adams. We were stationed there. We were in one of the old houses.
Fort Adams, is that in Maine?
No, Fort Adams is right across the bay in Newport.
Okay.
And so they have beautiful quarters.
So you did this in pencil?
No, that's a print. Well, I did a drawing in pencil,
and
then I turned it into traditional rosin aquatint, which meant that using tar and nitric acid and rosin dust, this would take me about 6 weeks. And you have to work in reverse, and you just stop out and you stick it in the acid, and then you paint out some more and you stick it in the acid, and then you clean all this tar paint off, and then you ink it up and print it, and it takes about 30 or 40 minutes to wipe it and then print. And every print you have to re-ink it and re-wipe it.
I've never heard of using nitric acid in anything artistic. I've never even heard of it.
In fact, here's another one. This is probably the biggest one I think I made. I did nothing but rosin aquatints for about 25 years.
Is that the shoreline
in Cape Cod?
Cape Cod. What town up in Cape Cod?
Chatham.
Yeah.
My husband's. I married into this wonderful family, and they had a cottage in Chatham.
Yeah.
We just sold it this last year because his folks passed away, and we just couldn't keep it up.
It's beautiful.
But I loved it. That's such a special place.
Sure.
And then this is another one of these new techniques. This is from one of my drawings. These were the trees out front where we lived.
Of Newport, right? Or
down in Newport at Fort Adams.
Now this is black and white, right?
It's a print. It's a silicon intaglio, and it's where the plate is got silicon on it. And again, you make your drawing and you put it on top of the silicon and you expose it to UV light, and then you rinse it out with water and you harden it. And you roll it up. This you roll up with litho ink, and you wipe it with so it's water versus greasy ink.
Was it hard to learn this, Carol?
I love learning new things. So I guess about every 4 or 5 years I read about a technique and I go out and learn how to do it. And then if it's something that's non-toxic, then I can teach it to my students.
Oh, I love the shiny. This looks Japanese.
Well, I did 100 and some of these.
It shines.
And I scratch into plastic, and then I print the lines, just the outlines of the flowers and the dragonflies, and then I let that dry. I print that on rice paper, and so that makes it an etching.
Yeah.
And then I hand color it with enamel paint, and then I go back, and that's 12 karat white gold, and then I put a varnish with a stain on it to get the kind of golden color. And then the last step I do is I glue the back of the rice paper, and I run it through an etching press, so it's very thin paper onto heavy paper with glue on the back, and that's called chine-collé. It's a French technique.
French? I would have thought it would have been Japanese.
There's a lot of different techniques in this, so I would call this a multimedia print monotype.
Do you have a studio in your home, Karen?
I do.
I can imagine it must be. Is it just covered with things?
Mostly my students' work or my friends' work. A lot of my prints are an edition of 25 to 75, and after you've printed something that many times, you really don't want to see it again.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way.
A lot of my students give me some of their work, and my friends, I trade for it, and I have a few of my things up, the things that, really mean something to me.
Do you frame your work?
I do all my own framing, yeah.
That's wonderful, because, people walk into your home and they say, oh, look at all of Carol's work all around here.
I've had a few of, I want to say, I call them my patron customers that I've had for many, many years, and over the years they've come and had lunch with me, and there's a wonderful couple down in Williamsburg, Virginia, and she literally buys it off my wall. She says, if you have it up on your wall and you love it enough to...
She buys it right there?
Yeah, she'll say, oh, I've got to have this, and so she'll buy it.
What a customer!
Oh, she's wonderful.
Carol, again, how can people reach you?
I would go to my website, which is www.CSFITZSIMONDS.com.
Now, your workshops, your classes are held in Providence.
They are at the Providence Art Club, and it's for our members, and our workshops are for our members, but if we have an opening, so please go online and check the Art Club website.
What's their website?
Just put in providenceartclub.org.
And when are the classes?
They run, we have 3 sets. We have fall classes, we have winter, we have spring, and then over the summer we have various workshops. And our classes run 5 days a week. We have 2 studios. We have a print studio and an upper studio. And they even run at night. And the bulk of our instructors are from our members, but we do have, I think, 5 or 6 now RISD instructors that teach classes for us.
How many people per class are you allowed usually?
It depends on the instructor and the space. The print studio is it's small, and printmakers need about half a size table. And the etching press takes up a lot of room.
So in your class, how many do you like to have?
I can only have 8.
That's pretty good.
And I have a waiting list this year again. I do.
How far do they come from? Massachusetts, everywhere?
Yeah, the art club is, we have some members from Boston.
Yeah. And they come all the way down there for your class?
They do. They come for our classes. In my figure class, we have some, and I'm going to say about half the membership of the club is artists, and the other half are what we call our patron members. They're businessmen, they're lawyers, and whatever. But it's just such a unique space, and the food is amazing.
In all ages, I assume, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the club has such a wonderful history.
Yeah.
So,
and it's located. Is it near RISD?
It is. It's 11 Thomas Street. It's 4 colonial buildings going down the hill, and we've joined 3 of the buildings. Yeah. Eventually, the 4th will be joined. So 2 of our buildings are artist studios. So if I wanted to, I could eventually get in one of those and rent.
How long have you been up there, Carol?
I've only been here in Rhode Island this time since 1997. And then we decided to settle, and my husband retired in 2001, so we've been in Portsmouth since 2001.
Did you know a glass artist named Christina Bell? She went to Rhode Island School of Design, and I've never seen anything like it. She used to go up to, what's that street very famous in Boston where they have elegant artwork for sale? Is it
Newbury.
Newbury Street. I would say Newbury.
Yeah.
And I remember she was a good friend of mine. She probably knew that. How long was it there, the Arts Club at that?
The Art Club in Providence has been there since 1880.
Oh, she must have known.
Oh, I'm sure. And we have several of the professors from RISD are members. And
is that where the cobblestone is, right there from those? I could picture those houses.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's
a big brick, and then there's a white, and a pale yellow, and then there's this wonderful that's mustard color with all these figures on it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because isn't there like a little coffee cafe around the corner?
Right. Yes, at the bottom of the street.
I remember seeing a lot of the students going in there. I took a class, for the fun of it, in the sculpting, the wheel that goes around. The problem is I couldn't look at the wheel because I started getting like this. So usually what I did is I sort of just made it on my own. Do you ever run into that?
One of my students, she's now, she teaches with me.
Yeah.
She helped me when I had the hip, and I'm like, once I had her helping me, she co-teaches with me now. I was like, how in the world did I ever teach this by myself?
Yeah.
And she's a potter.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean. She gets everything straight.
Yeah, I tried from the beginning with the other kids in the class to get it done, and I went, you know what, this just isn't going to work. The teacher was great. She says, it's going to work just fine. You do your thing. And I did. I learned how to kind of keep edging it up, making it into a huge vase, like that. It was a lot of fun. It was therapeutic. I was going through a rough time physically, and I remember my friend, Christina, came along with me into the class. Of course, she did beautifully. But the colors of people, like your colors, everybody is so different.
Yes.
The colors that Carol has on today, hold up your arm with your beautiful bracelets with where did you get these?
I have to say, my dearest military wife friend, she's my oldest friend, she probably has the largest collection of my work that I give her. And every Christmas and my birthday, she comes up with another, what she calls art jewelry for me to wear.
Did she do that one too?
She did. So this is all Karen. Thank you very much.
We got about 3 minutes. So if people are interested in maybe coming to your classes, Carol, would they just go to your site again?
I would tell them to go to my site, send me an email, but also to go to the Providence Art Club.
Providence Art Club.
And look and see what's offered.
Yeah.
Especially in the summer. I know, like this summer in my workshop, I had a non-member because we had an opening, and she was the guest of another member, and just see if you could get in. I know from RISD, I saw. I don't know if you've ever heard of pochoir. It's a type of printing from. I'm going to say the Art Deco era, and you cut stencils and you use gouache, and so basically you're printing with stencils, so every color is another stencil.
I love it. Oh, I love
it.
And
so I saw this RISD instructor gave a talk, and I got her to teach a workshop at the art club, so I took the workshop. And
that was it?
It was wonderful. And now I think I'm my 4th year doing pochoir. So
it almost sounds like feng shui.
Yes.
Pochoir.
I know.
Where is it from?
I want to say it's French.
It's another French.
They used it to color the magazines before they had the color printing.
Sure.
And it was they had like a person that did each color, and it was like an assembly line.
Carol, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a lot of fun. I love the way you make those books. Boy, those are, I tell you, that looks like you would go into Newbury Street in Boston, and those would be those brand new, very high-end, terrific. And so you're going back to Newport?
I am.
You're going to brave the construction?
I didn't see any on my side of the road. I'm hoping they didn't switch over while I was here.
You didn't run into it up here in Upton, did you?
No, I was a little bit on the bridge. But that wasn't. It wasn't.
Oh, you mean on Hopkinton coming down?
Down, yeah.
Okay, all right, because they have been working on one of our roads here.
Yeah.
And I think some of our guests ended up coming down School Street and around.
I did. That's how I came.
Well, did you have a GPS?
Yes.
Oh, so you were able to avoid some of that?
Well, a little bit of it.
Okay. Yeah, but you got under 140 just fine.
Yeah, I did.
Carol, thanks.
You give great directions.
Well, I grew up. You could take a trip to China in our bathroom. My father loved world travel, and he'd have maps everywhere. And when he gave me directions, it was precise with what to look for, and that's how I grew up.
Hey, my husband used to be a navigator.
There you go. Carol, hopefully we'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you. We will see you next time and be my guest.